What's up, guys? This is Ties In, and with me today, I have the Honorable Grandmaster, LeonFu.com, the Oracle of Cryptocurrency. And in this special video series, guys, we want to talk about the profit potentials in privacy coins. There's going to be two parts to this. The first part is going to contain 6 modules. In the first module, we're going to talk about why is privacy important. In the second module, we'll talk about the privacy coins, and we'll answer what they are, which projects are which, what's the technologies behind them, the advantages and disadvantages between each one of them. In module 3, we'll talk about the overview of the top privacy coins. And then in module number 4, we'll give my analysis and we'll give Leon's analysis of each of the privacy coin projects. We'll call that the Taifu analysis. And then module number 5, we'll talk about the differences in each privacy coin, right? And then the last module, module number 6, we'll talk about what does a privacy coin need in order to succeed, because there's several of them out there, and so we'll see which one needs what they need in order to succeed. In this first module here, we're going to focus on why is privacy important. We're not going to really focus too much on the privacy coins, but just the reason why it's even important. You talked about we're going to make the case and the argument for privacy.
Yes, we're going to talk about the moral and philosophical case about why privacy is important and why there's opportunity for investors and why it's much more, why it's much more valuable than what most people think.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get started, guys, just like any sponsored video, we have to make a quick sponsorship disclaimer here. This video has been sponsored by a privacy coin project to provide an independent third-party review of the major privacy coin projects currently active to educate the public about the importance of financial privacy. All right. And this is an investor notice from Leon and myself. We are investors looking to make life-changing money. Don't forget that. Okay, that's what this channel is about. We are not crusaders, and we don't have a political agenda, or we're on a mission to fight for individual privacy rights. We are not Edward Snowden, nor are we Julian Assange, okay? We are here to make life-changing money. The purpose of this video series is to make a moral and philosophical case because there's tremendously more value and profit potential in the privacy coin arena that extends beyond the mainstream media hype of just buying illegal drugs or evading taxes with privacy coins, right? We hope that this video will help open your eyes to the life-changing profit potential in privacy coins, right? So you want to talk about the top cryptocurrency gains in 2016?
Sure. So the best cryptocurrencies you could have bought from 2016 happened to be Monero. But it wasn't just Monero. 3 of the top 10 best performing cryptocurrencies in 2016 were centered around privacy. Of course, Monero was the best performer. You made the most amount of money if you bought that at the beginning of 2016. But then 2 other projects, Navcoin and Shadow Cash, were also in the top 10. And we have charts to show you what the returns were for last year for these 3. So Bytecoin is notable because Monero, which I just said was the top performing cryptocurrency, actually it came from Bytecoin. And you can see Bytecoin was the first cryptocurrency around a project called CryptoNote, which is a way to help currencies help you maintain your privacy in financial transactions. So Bytecoin was actually the first one to come out, and later on Monero came from that.
And I want to add this, guys, is that before we go to the next chart, right, just be aware that this right here, the 300% profit that you could have made on Bytecoin, that's 3 times your money. If you put in $1,000, then that would have turned into roughly $3,000, and it only took 4 months to do that. And the thing that's interesting about the privacy coins is that this was one of the lowest performing ones before we go into the other ones.
Sure.
So next we have Navcoin.
Sure. Navcoin is another project centered around privacy, and you can see here, I believe, according to my sources, this was the 3rd best performing cryptocurrency, scoring a gain of 2,233%. So 1,000 became 22,000, and that only took about 9 months.
Yeah, so you would have made 22 times your money, whatever it was that you invested in here.
Yes.
Assuming that you got in at the bottom,
At the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, near where the green line is at, and then you got out near where the top where the red line is at.
Yeah.
So, and then we also have Shadow Cash.
Yes, Shadow Cash was the 9th best performer of 2016, also with about a 22 times gain. That's at the peak. My sources were to the end of 2016, but as you can see, it spiked up, came back down. This was the 9th best performer for 2016, and it went as high as 22 times your money in 9 months.
And when you say that it was the 9th best performer, that's among the privacy coins, or is that among all cryptocurrencies?
All widely traded cryptocurrencies.
Okay. So you put 1,000 in, it turns into roughly 22,000 in 9 months.
Yeah, during that spike.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, before you talk about Monero, the previous privacy coins that we just discussed were what we consider a B tier or
Sure.
a B grade crypto privacy coin.
Sure.
Now we're going to talk about some of the A grade or the A tier
Yeah,
cryptocurrencies.
these are the leading projects, and Monero is one of them.
And when you guys look at this, the dark arrow goes with the dark text, and then the light arrow goes with the lighter text. So you guys can see what the differences are. So you want to talk about Monero
Yeah,
here?
so Monero,
in terms and also the other ones that we looked at were in terms of Bitcoins. And this one, you wanted us to do it in terms of US dollars?
Sure. So Monero is widely traded. It trades a lot, millions of dollars per day, many times. So yeah, the other charts they were showing the unit was Bitcoin, but Monero has enough trading volume that it's also traded in terms of US dollars. And so you could see here in terms of US dollars, over 3,000%, roughly 3,000. Well, let's just call that 30 times your money.
Yeah.
You can
If
see
you
it
got
started
at 50 cents.
You could see it started the year at around 50 cents, and actually it sat roughly around 50 cents for. This project has been around for 2 or 3 years, and then recently exploded last year, and you would have scored a 3,000% gain in 9 months. That means 30 times your money within a year. So there was a
and there was plenty of volume too. I want to bring up also that there was plenty of volume at 50
the bars
cents
over here, to actually
at
buy.
the beginning of 2016 to
Yes.
where you can actually get into the trade or into the investment. Yeah. So it's not like the volume is so thin that you're not able to get in.
And you were also able to get out too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's extremely important,
sure.
right? Mm-hmm. So and like Leon said, this was actually a fork of Bytecoin, which means that it was it came off of, they took the Bytecoin software and then rebranded it as Monero.
Sure, they started a new branch of the source code, and with a new community, a new team, a new set of developers took this project over. So this was the biggest winner, bigger than Ethereum, which dominated the news cycle in 2016.
Yeah. Now, there's something that I want to mention before we go to the next slide, Leon, is that if you guys noticed, when Monero rebranded itself from Bytecoin and changed into Monero, when it was Bytecoin, it was only doing like at most 300% gains. But then when it rebranded themselves, there's something that's very important that you guys want to pay attention to, is that when Monero saw the need in the market and they rebranded themselves and took Bytecoin and remarketed and rebranded themselves into Monero, there was a huge potential in gain here. Right, and then we'll give you guys several examples of some other ones also. Next one is Dash.
Yeah, so
this is also measured in US dollars.
Yeah, so Dash is also heavily widely traded. In fact, it recently, it just surpassed Monero in terms of returns this year. So you can see 2017, Monero was ahead of it at the end of 2016, but just within the last month, it just had this huge run. But Dash is very interesting because Dash was also one of the original privacy projects that came out along with Monero. Since then, they're no longer centered around privacy. They're centered more around user adoption. But this was another before they were originally known as dark coin, as in like dark money. and they rebranded themselves into Dash when they pivoted away from just privacy to more mainstream adoption.
Yeah, and I want to also add to this that whenever you guys notice that during the rebranding and the remarketing of some of these privacy coins, you'll notice that originally the original names were not very positive. It didn't have a very positive connotation, right?
Sure.
So, for example, like Dash came from a privacy coin called Dark Coin, and that the name alone gives implies that there's something shady, there's something dark going on. And so that was one of the things they did. They rebranded their image and remarketed themselves into Dash, which implies speed and efficiency, which is more
in line with what they're doing now.
Yeah,
too.
and it's more a positive message than calling themselves Dark Coin. And the same thing with Monero. Monero means money, right? And it's much better than Bytecoin, because Bytecoin sounds pretty, what do you call that? Comical.
Yes.
It's hard to take something seriously whenever you call it Bytecoin.
Sure.
Sounds like a video game or something, right? So the biggest investment miss of 2016, and this is something that you kept calling me about almost every week.
Yes.
Right?
So we missed Monero as investors. That was a big miss. And one of the reasons we missed it is we didn't realize the value of privacy because of the way the marketing was. It was like dark coin and shadow cash, all this underworld tone. And I'm like, okay, if you're catering to such a niche market, we didn't feel that it was really going to be that big. It was always going to be this underworld niche thing. But what we didn't realize was that privacy goes far beyond that. It's far more valuable than just buying drugs online. But even if that's all, the one thing that we missed is that even if that's all they did was buy drugs online, the first use case of Bitcoin was for privacy, to buy drugs online. That's where it rose from. That was the first mainstream large case use case for it. It was buying drugs on this darknet site called Silk Road.
So you want just for anyone that's new, any new audience members we have, you want to explain real quick, briefly, what Silk Road is?
Yeah, Silk Road was a website on the what's known as the dark web, where people could buy and sell anything they want. It's kind of like an eBay, and a lot of what was sold was illicit drugs. Eventually, the government came in. They finally tracked them down because they were hiding their tracks quite well. But eventually, the government was able to track down the guy that was running it, and they shut it down. But Bitcoin started being used for money. One of the first use cases of Bitcoin was buying stuff on Silk Road, because that's what they took. They took Bitcoins.
Silk Road was originally the name of the road that connected Asia from China to Europe, and that's where all the goods and products were imported and exported back and forth between those two nations, right?
Yes.
So before we get started talking about get into privacy coins, right? Leo and I want to explain to you guys the importance of privacy, and if you really can grasp this concept and the importance of privacy, I think that it makes it a lot easier for you to understand the value of privacy coins and which ones to invest in and which ones to stay away from.
Sure.
Okay, so according to privacy.org, there are two parts to your privacy. The first part is the ability to control the information about yourself, right? The second part is knowing how to exercise that control according to your best interests and values.
Yeah. So, the second part is important because you might have control over the information about yourself, but today with e-commerce, many people don't understand how that information is being used, and oftentimes being used against their best interests. So it's not just that you have the ability to control who sees information about yourself, it's also that you have the knowledge about how to exercise that control for your best interests. Because it does you no good if people give you control, but then you have no idea, you just randomly give it out because you don't understand how to exercise that control for your own best interests. So privacy, you need to have these two parts.
Okay, so being able to control and exercise your privacy enables you to have more freedom from unwanted observers, people you don't want watching or listening into you, right? And then also more freedom from being disturbed and bothered by other people. But that only comes from, like Leon said, the ability to control and exercise that control about the information about yourself. So you said that in your research, you said that privacy is a basic human right.
Yes, it is. It's the foundation. I would even say it's the foundation of all the other human rights that we have. It's according to Privacy International, over 130 countries have laws regarding your privacy in every region of the world. Even the UN said in 1948, no one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. So the idea that privacy is a fundamental human right is not a new one. It was even in the 40s, people recognized that by the UN.
I also want to add that in the United States Constitution, there was a Fourth Amendment that addresses privacy specifically, and I'll share this with you, right? Is that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizure. That means that you have privacy to yourself, right? Shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So basically what the Fourth Amendment is stating here in the American laws is that every citizen should have the right to privacy, and the only time that authorities or governments or anyone should be able to invade that privacy is if they have to have a warrant from the court that shows a probable cause, meaning that there is a evidence that there is something that they need to come in and see, right? And it has to be described in detail what needs to be searched and the person or things that they need to search and seize. So they just can't go in and randomly just look for whatever they want to.
Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that was so important that had to be included as a Fourth Amendment inside the U.S. Constitution. Mm-hmm. Okay. So why you need privacy? You want to talk about this?
Sure. You need to have privacy so that you can express an idea as an individual without threat or physical harm or negative repercussions. So if you're constantly being watched, this goes to the idea that you're going to start thinking about what you should say, mm-hmm. and what you should feel and what you should even think if you don't have privacy. If you know that anything you say can be turned around and used against you at any time.
Yeah, so in certain situations, let's just use a few examples here, right? There are certain places where you might, if you've ever spoken in front of a public audience at a school, at a college, or at a university, you may feel, sweaty palms. You might be nervous in speaking in front of someone, and that's just nervousness and anxiety. Imagine if you had to speak in front of someone where they can make a decision to just cut your head off based on what you say. There are still countries in the world where the rulers have such power that if you say something that they don't want to hear, they have the ability to just cut your head off, and not only that, but your entire family's heads off, so that it can get rid of you entirely. So like you come from China, back during the Tang Dynasty, right? Before the Tang Dynasty got started, the Tang Dynasty was considered the most powerful dynasty in China and the longest lived. They lasted like over 700 years. And the emperor that ran the previous dynasty before the Tang Dynasty, right? He was paranoid, right? He was so paranoid that people were trying to overthrow him and his family, that if there was any whisper or any rumor or any gossip about any family trying to take over his throne, he would just literally go there and just cut everyone's heads off and just wipe out the entire family, the generations, the in-laws, the grandparents, the parents, the grandkids, everyone, to secure his throne, mm-hmm. right? And that actually hurt him, because that was how the Tang Dynasty got it, because people got tired of it and rebelled against him.
Sure.
But anyway, that, imagine being in a court where in front of the king or the emperor or a government where you say something and that could cost you your life.
Sure.
Right? So this is why privacy is so important, right?
Yeah, and it even starts, if you don't have privacy, you start to think about, hey, who you should hang out with, who you should assemble with. because there could be repercussions. So you can't, without privacy, you can't even freely decide to assemble with, meet certain people because there's this thing known as guilt by association, right?
Yeah. So to give you an example to the audience about that, right now we're going through a situation in American history where it's the first time that a businessman got elected as president. We're talking about Donald Trump. And when he came on as president right now, right now as we're recording this video in Atlanta, Georgia, right, we have a huge situation where they are blaming his election victory on the Russians helping him. And they're blaming several people, including a congressman named Jeff Sessions, and they're accusing him of talking to the Russian ambassador, right? Mm-hmm. And that's an example of here is that he, be seen with another person has already caused problems,
sure,
right? Because he was not able to do it in private.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And also, this number 3 applies to whistleblowers, people who want to report on illegal activities, and if they can't protect their privacy, they may not do that because of the repercussions that would happen, especially reporting on people who have authority.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of my clients, I happen to be here in filming this in Atlanta right now, and it's interesting because as I'm looking down at the downtown Atlanta area behind your back right there in the window, right? It reminds me of that one of my clients was a former police officer in Atlanta. And what happened was when he was working at the police department, he saw some abuses by other police officers, but he was not in a position, right, mm-hmm, to be able to say something. And the other officers also saw it, but none of them were in a position to say something because the person that violated the laws, right, was above him, was higher ranking than him and his other officers. Mm-hmm. And he knew that if one of them would have said something, right, there would be repercussions, sure, on all their jobs, mm-hmm, and all their careers. And when he was forced with the decision either to take care of his family and keep the job and take care of his family, or have to deal with the repercussions of getting fired or maybe getting laid off or something like that. Retaliation. Obviously, he had to choose his family first.
Sure.
Okay. So that's why privacy is so important. Now, talk about the privacy about businesses need privacy.
So businesses need privacies too, right? They need protection because all businesses have confidential information. Protection from who? Well, protection from their criminals, hackers, and their competitors. Right, so privacy is also a commercial need. Okay, if companies can't maintain their trade secrets, if they don't have privacy on that, they can't do business. Right, they can't operate. So this is also, privacy is not just for personal freedom and liberty; it's also a commercial need.
Yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, because Atlanta is one of the biggest financial hubs in the world. And a lot of the financial companies, a lot of the credit card companies that are here, they have to protect, their business, mm-hmm, their trade secrets, sure, and they can't have people, sure, copying it
or even
stealing
their relationships,
yeah,
their business relationships.
So,
yeah.
Privacy also enables consumer protection, right? So without a strong privacy, it's easy for someone else to impersonate us, especially in the online world, with fraud, with ID theft, and with inaccurate credit reporting, right? This alone right here is the bulk of your credit card charges and costs. If you will, in case you know or you don't know, most businesses in the world have to pay between a 2 to 3% credit card charge, right, to help cover the cost of fraud and ID theft, right? For example, I had in the last 2 years, I had 2 credit cards. Somebody in Canada stealing my credit cards and using it, and I've never been to Canada, mm-hmm, right? So things like that cost businesses money, it costs the credit cards company, it costs me money to have that kind of protection, and then all kinds of stuff. So if we're able to have private financial transactions, that can help reduce that cost, and then and the business can then pass it on to the customers, yes, right?
Yeah, and it's also we have over here, the freedom to make private purchases. If all your financial transactions are monitored, like everything you buy, everyone, mm-hmm, you do business with, can be monitored all the time. you're not free. It goes back to association, because doing business with someone is a form of association. Then you will start thinking about, well, who should I, what will people think if I do business with this person or this organization? And so it limits your freedom if you don't have financial privacy to make purchases.
Now, I want to add to this, right, that a lot of times whenever people think about making a private purchase, they always think about like drugs or guns.
Yeah,
Those are like
the
most,
first things
right?
that people think.
But for example, right, let's just say that we have someone that is a transgender, because that's like a big issue in American politics right now, right? Let's say that someone's a transgender and they need to buy some drugs, some hormones, or some testosterone or some estrogen or anything for their hormone therapy, for their treatment.
Medical reasons,
right?
yes.
Yeah, for medical reasons, right? We're not here to say that it's right or wrong. What we're here to say is that if it's an individual that makes that decision, they should have the ability to make that purchase in private without somebody censoring them or observing them while they make that purchase.
Sure.
Okay?
There's many reasons to make private purchases. It's not
it's not just for
buying
illegal drugs
or something.
Or things like that, right? And another thing is that, like, let's just say that, I'm looking behind you at downtown Atlanta, behind you, right? And there's a lot of executives that live here, right? And Atlanta is a big city that contains lots of Fortune 500 company headquarters here. And imagine if you were here and you were applying for an executive job and you have a heart condition, or you have early stages of a cancer or something like that, that you need the certain prescription drugs and medication for to treat that illness or that medical issue. And these Fortune 500 companies, when they're hiring you as an executive, maybe you don't want them to know that you have certain medical issues, right? Maybe you don't think that it affects your performance, your job performance, but your competitor who's also trying to get that position might bring it up and make a big deal out of it.
Use that information against you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, for example, like with Hillary Clinton when she was running for president, and Donald Trump, one of the things that Donald Trump pointed out was that, she was having medical issues, and imagine if, it was revealed to the public the kind of drugs and the medications that she was taking, then her competitors can use it against her, right? So those are some of the examples of private purchases. And I mean, something as crazy as this, we have certain people in the world that have certain fetishes, right?
Yes.
If some guy wants to buy some panties or some bras and wear it at his house, that's his business. That shouldn't be anyone's business, If he's in his
alternative
own home.
lifestyles.
Alternative lifestyles.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing illegal about it. It's just that perhaps they don't want the world knowing.
And it's not just with certain alternative lifestyles or fetishes. It could be someone like, I had a acquaintance many years ago that was going through chemotherapy and had cancer, and she had lost all her hair, and she never wanted anyone to see her without hair. She was very,
so she bought a wig.
Yeah, so she bought a wig, but the thing was she didn't want nobody to know that she was wearing a wig.
Sure.
Right? So that's a private purchase that she wants to make without people knowing that she bought a wig, right? And she has every human right to have that ability to be able to buy that wig without other people knowing about it.
Sure.
Now, I put Equifax, TransUnion, Experian here, and in case you don't live in America or a Western country, these are the top 3 what's called a credit bureaus, and they monitor your credit, right? And I have a friend who they moved to a different city, and what happened was they tried to rent an apartment, and it was denied because all these credit reporters, these databases here, these companies that hold databases about your past payment history, right, said that he owed money at an apartment that he didn't even know about.
Sure.
And the apartment didn't even exist. It was out of business, and that prevented him from getting a new apartment at the new city because of that. So privacy prevents things like that from happening, which is inaccurate credit reporting, right? So privacy also enables better government. Now, Leon and I, we have a good mutual friend. His name is James D'Angelo. Maybe many of you guys already know who he is. He runs the World Bitcoin Network channel. In 2012, 2013, 2014, I think 2013, 2014, he had the most popular Bitcoin channel on the internet, and he was responsible for educating most of the early adopters, him and Andreas Antonopoulos, right? And he has a very famous video called the Cardboard Box Reform, where he talks about how privacy can enable better government for 2 reasons. One is that privacy eliminates the intimidation and the bribery and corruption that's going on in government. So most congressmen, people say that politicians are bad, but I agree with James D'Angelo that the majority of the politicians, I believe, wants to do the right thing for their community that they represent.
Sure.
Yeah, we have some bad apples in there, but I believe that the majority of the American congressmen want to do the right thing, but because their votes are not private, their votes are transparent, right? They can be seen. And so if a congressman's votes can be transparent and can be easily seen by the public, then that leaves room for companies, businesses, lobbying groups, and organizations to intimidate them, to threaten them.
Sure.
Right? Hey, we'll take away donations. We'll take away your political donations, your campaign donations. We won't support you in the next re-election.
Sure.
And they can be intimidated. And it doesn't always have to be money. It could be mental.
Sure.
Right? Like, 100 years ago, right, it was very easy to go and intimidate someone if they didn't vote the way that you wanted them on a particular bill or something, right?
But the opposite of intimidation is bribery, right? So once your votes are transparent to everyone, your votes now can be sold, because now you're able to prove I voted this way or that way, right? So there's a reason why when you go to vote in the ballot box that number one, you don't. No one can go in the voting booth with you, so no one will know, and that's to avoid the intimidation. But you're never given a receipt to show who you voted for, so you can never prove who you voted for, and so that's so that you can't sell their votes. But with our congressmen, all the votes are transparent, so they're vulnerable to these two problems. They can be intimidated or they can be bribed.
So let's just use a couple examples so that the audience knows, right? So for example, let's just say that the pharmaceutical company wants to pass a law to make a specific drug legal, right? And they're getting a lot of resistance from the lobbying groups and from the citizens and everything. But if they're able to pay off the congressmen to vote it and make that law legal so they can pass a specific drug, right? For example, right? I'll use this as an example because I used to be a personal trainer before. Most people don't know that before 1993, all the food supplements that we have right now, like the creatine, the glutamine, and all the energy drinks, all that was illegal in the U.S. The reason why is because you can't make a claim that something reduces your body fat or increases your muscle without scientific evidence.
Sure.
Right? So before then, anything that a human being consumes in America either had to be a drug, which had to have testing on it, or it was either a food. There was no in between. So what they did was that in Utah, in the state of Utah, they have a big supplement industry. And so they lobbied Congress, right, to make it legal to now where they have a food supplement.
Sure.
Right? So now they go there and they lobby against the food supplement industry, lobbied all these congressmen to make it legal, for companies to sell a product and make claims that they had no scientific evidence for, right? And that was how the Food Supplement Act got passed in 1993, and they were able to sell their votes on this, right? Why else would you vote for something to make something legal, right, and make claims about losing body fat or muscle gain without any scientific evidence to show for it, right? So because of that, that happened. Laws like that get passed because the politicians can sell their votes.
Yeah, and James D'Angelo has a very good YouTube clip on exactly this problem.
Yeah, called the Cardboard Box Reform. He's probably, in my opinion, the undisputed, best educator on privacy and expert on researching privacy and how to fix that problem in Congress. And that's one of the reasons why he hit the pause button on his Bitcoin channel, because he feels that this is more important to change to do better change. If he's going to spend his time, he wants to do it where he can make an impact on American culture and laws, right? So that's why he's focusing more on that than he is now on the Bitcoin channels, okay? Another example is the Dakota pipeline, the energy pipeline that they're trying to run in the northern part of the United States. There's huge contention because the pipelines are going across Indian reservations, the Native American reservations, and other parts where they don't want. And there's a lot of congressmen that either they're being intimidated by other congressmen to vote yes for the pipeline, or they're being bribed by the energy companies to be to vote yes to allow these things to happen. And I want you guys to understand something. Leon and I are here, not here to let you guys know that it's right or it's wrong. We just want to let you guys know that the importance and the value of privacy and the big impact that it has on society. Okay, so. Now, this is a huge myth that just really irritates you. That the nothing to hide. A lot of politicians say that if you have nothing to hide,
people against privacy, the people in favor of mass surveillance and things like that, will often argue, if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to fear, right? And that's a myth. And even if you have nothing to hide, you care about your privacy. And I touched upon this earlier, right? Because without privacy, you don't have the freedom. If you're constantly being monitored, if you don't have a right to privacy, you don't have the freedom to express what you really think, or what your opinions are, if you're constantly being monitored. Because if you're constantly being monitored, all of that can eventually might be used against you at some point, either now or in the present, right? You don't have the freedom to associate with other people, because what will other people think? If you can't keep that private, you might have to say, hey, should I really hang out with this guy? Because what will other people think? Even if I have nothing to do with that, you don't have the freedom to just associate who you might want to associate with. You don't have the freedom to assemble or unite with other people, because that can, like I said, that can always be used against you. And so what are the effects of this? If you can't express your ideas, if you can't associate with other people, if you can't assemble, then you'll think twice about things like, affects these freedoms, like contacting or meeting other people, congregating in the same location. You might think about twice about going to a certain place because of other people who might be there, and just the fact that you're in the same location, people might start making conclusions that they shouldn't conclude, right? And participating with activities that might make you look bad, right? Yeah. Even though they shouldn't, right?
Yeah. And we put here in quotes a specific type of people, and that's to represent the people that, depending upon what region of the world that you live in, you may not, have that specific type of people might hurt you just to be around them, and not because that specific type of person might hurt you. For example, if you are living in, let's say, in near Israel or in Palestine, mm-hmm. right? If you're a Palestinian and you have friends that are Israel, right?
Israelis,
yeah, you might not be seen with that Israeli, because people might think twice about you because you're associating with the enemy or things like that, right?
That, yes.
And you can't congregate in the same location with a specific type of people, because you get the same impression. There might be repercussions for doing that. And the same thing with participating in different activities.
Sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. For example, I had a friend here during the Black Lives Matter movement here in Atlanta. I had a friend who was not black, and I told him, I said, hey man, we should go down here and see what's going on. And I've never been in any kind of a rally or any kind of protest or any kind of Black Lives Matter movement, but it just so happened that the neighborhood I was in, it was happening like 2 or 3 blocks down the road.
Sure.
So I always see it on TV, I always see it on the news, and I just want to go there and see it live, not to participate in it. I just want to see the protest live, because I've never been involved in a protest like that live before. And it was all over the news and everything about the Black Lives Matter movement in Atlanta. And I couldn't get my friend to go because he said that if the company he worked for saw him participate in the Black Lives Matter,
or even thought that he participated,
that there would be repercussions about that.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And for him, it didn't matter. For him, it was neutral, but he didn't want to be seen on TV or anywhere, or have somebody say that they saw him there, because he was afraid that it might hurt his career.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So the result of all of this is, it has a chilling effect on a well-functioning democracy. Things like activism, journalism, political dissent, all the things we value in a free society, right? So privacy is the foundation for a lot of other freedoms that we enjoy.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's a famous quote from Edward Snowden, and in case you're not familiar, Edward Snowden was the first American he used to work for the CIA. right? I mean the NSA,
the NSA,
the NSA,
yeah.
and the National Security Administration, right? And he was the one who brought evidence to reveal and show that the NSA was collecting metadata or your emails, your phone calls, what you watch, everything across everyone in America.
Mass surveillance.
Yeah.
That's what he showed, and that's
Right.
what that's why he sacrificed himself
Yeah.
to reveal that.
And he knew that his life was in extreme danger by doing that, but he wanted it to show evidence because he didn't just say that, because there was a lot of people that said that was happening in the past.
They wrote him off as conspiracy theorists. Yeah.
And no one ever had evidence until he came along. He provided evidence because he worked for them and he saw the software and the computers they were using to do that.
Sure.
And he has a famous quote, and he's like the symbol of privacy, because he said that arguing that you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying that you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say, right? Mm-hmm. And just because you don't have nothing to say, you still want to have the ability, the right to be able to say what you want when you're ready to say it. Sure. And the same thing goes for with privacy. Mm-hmm. And so now, talk about this. What happened after the 9/11 attacks in New York City?
Well, a lot of this mass surveillance happened after 9/11, right? It was the whole idea that we gotta survey everyone because we gotta stop the terrorists, we gotta stop the bad guys, right? We gotta keep you secure. So that's the pretext the government used to start things like the Patriot Act and this NSA mass surveillance program that Snowden revealed.
And basically, they were saying that, in order to protect America, we need you to give up your privacy.
Your right to privacy.
Yeah, your right to privacy so that you can be more secure.
Sure. But, security is a precondition for privacy, but it's not sufficient, right? I mean, just because you're secure, it does not mean you have privacy, okay? And financial privacy here is critical and essential to creating privacy. But that really frames the argument in the wrong way, right? Yeah. And I think if you go to the next slide, we have so if our goal is to live in a free society, and Bruce Schneier here, he's the author of a very famous book in cryptography called Applied Cryptography. It's where I learned about how encryption works and how public-private key encryption work. It was from his book that I read. But he says that our goal is to live in a free society, liberty, which requires that we have security without intrusion. It's security plus privacy. It's not security or privacy. It's security and privacy. We need them both. And so the real choice with that argument is, do we want liberty or do we want control? All right, because if we want to be free, we need both security and privacy, not one or the other, or not some compromise.
And what the NSA and other government agencies want us to believe as citizens is that if you want security, you need to give up your privacy.
Yes.
And what you're saying is that Bruce Schneier, in his famous essay, he states that liberty should come with security and privacy, not one or the other, but a combination of both.
A combination of both, right? So, and he makes this argument in the last, we've cited his article down here. Widespread police surveillance is the very definition of a police state, right? If the government is surveying everyone, that's a police state.
Yeah.
And and that's why we should champion privacy even when we have nothing to hide, because it's our privacy, as we've laid out, is necessary for a free society.
Okay. So I want to talk about a little bit here about the challenges to defending your privacy. And according to the Privacy International, the most significant challenge, right, to privacy is that the right can be compromised without the individual being aware of it. And this is very important, guys, because with other rights, you're aware of the interference and the violation. For example, when you're being detained by someone, you know the detaining official. When you are being censored, you know the person or the organization or the company that's censoring you. When you are being restrained, you can identify the police officer or the law enforcement agent that is restraining you. In other words, with other rights, you are always fully aware of the person that is violating your rights. However, with privacy, it's a lot different, right? When your privacy rights are being violated, you are not informed about the monitoring you are being placed under. Like the NSA doesn't come in and tell you, hey, we're monitoring you now. We're gonna violate your privacy rights, right? you are not given the opportunity to question the violations. In other words, since you don't know about it, you can't question it. Like when you're being detained by an officer, since you know that it's happening, like if they ask you, hey, pull your car over here or step over here at the airport, we need to talk to you, you can question, hey, why are you detaining me? What did I do? I didn't do anything wrong, right? Sure. Whereas when your privacy rights are being violated, you cannot question it because you don't know it's happening, right? Most people are not capable of doing anything about the violations because even if they know about it, they don't have the technology
or the ability,
or the know-how to prevent this from happening. Yes. And this is the reason why we are spending this time making these series of videos, guys, because to understand the value of this for an investment purpose, right, is that there are new technologies now in the form of privacy coin projects that's happening all over the world that is going to resolve this issue. And we'll get into depth about that in future upcoming videos, right? So let's talk about communication versus financial privacy, right? Privacy allows you to freely share, transfer, and extend your reach and influence over a long distance in two distinct ways. And most people are not aware of this, right? But there's two major types of privacy, right? One is what I call communication privacy, and the other one is what I call financial privacy. Now, your standard communication privacy includes such things as human messengers, like I send a person to go give you a message, or I send a homing pigeon to go deliver a message to you, or I use a phone to give you a call or send you a text message, or I use traditional snail mail where the postman delivers it to your house, or I use an electronic email. These are what I consider the standard communication privacy, right? So we want to be able to have this type of privacy to cover these types of communication, because I should be able, as a human, to communicate you in private and send messages to you and communicate without other people interfering with it or knowing what I'm saying to you, okay? Now, these allows you to create an extension of who you are to share and to transfer and extend your ideas and your beliefs to the other side of the world, right? These technologies or these methods of communication allows one person to communicate their idea to the other side of the world or over a long distance, okay? Now, check this out, right? Andreas Antonopoulos, who's one of the biggest Bitcoin evangelists out there, if you're watching this, more than likely you've seen one of his videos. He has a famous quote where he says that money is speech, and here's the reason why, right? If you understand the importance of financial privacy, right, regular communication privacy allows you to extend it, but financial privacy is very unique because it allows you to share, transfer, and extend your value. And that's different than your ideas and your beliefs. Regular communication extends your ideas and your opinions, but financial privacy gives you the ability to extend what you value. For example, your ideas and beliefs do not have much value until you put your money where your mouth is. And in America, the expression, put your money where your mouth is, means that if you really truly believe in something, put your money on it. Don't just say it, but go put your money. If you believe that this organization, you believe in breast cancer, in fighting breast cancer, put your money where your mouth is at, right? Mm-hmm. If you believe that Bitcoin is going to revolutionize the world, then put your money into it, right? Sure. We didn't believe enough in privacy coins in 2016, right. So we did
not put our money into it. Yes, that's right. That's right. But
right.
we know now.
Yeah,
yes.
We know now.
Yes.
So therefore, financial privacy is critical to extending your reach and spreading your ideas and beliefs over a long distance. And how does it do that? Because if you believe in a cause that's going on in China or in the Middle East or in Europe or in South America, if you truly believe in that cause, now
you can send that value to someone else.
The value to them.
Yes.
However, check this out. Anyone who controls your financial privacy and your ability to and controls your ability to spread your ideas and beliefs over a long distance controls what you can put value on.
That's right.
Right? So let's just say that you believe in people in Africa drinking clean water, in kids, just something simple like that, right?
Sure.
And you put your money, you send money over there so they can buy new water filters and water filtration systems so that the villages over there can have clean water. If someone has the ability to control your ability to send them money,
They have the ability to control who you
Yeah.
spread your beliefs to.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's just a simple example.
Yeah.
Let's look at Julian Assange. Talk about what happened with him and WikiLeaks.
Yeah, so one of the earliest use cases for WikiLeaks was also Bitcoin. It was because the WikiLeaks is, for those that you may not, if you don't know what WikiLeaks does, is they do whistleblowing. They reveal government corruption, just basically calling out people in power if they've done anything that's illegal or questionable. That's what they do.
Yeah,
and so what they've done is the governments, because they're reporting on potential wrongdoings of the government then try to cut off their financial support. Basically, they couldn't take Visa and MasterCard or PayPal or things like that. And so, because Bitcoin is censorship resistant, a lot of their financing had to come through Bitcoin because it's uncensorable. It's one of the, like we had said earlier, one of the first use cases of Bitcoin was for financial privacy. Not only did it protect payment networks such as Visa or MasterCard, maybe if you believe, and like I said, we're not here to take sides as to whether or not you think WikiLeaks is good or bad, but if you believe that they're doing something good, you were not able to put your value to support them.
Yeah.
Right?
You can't extend your reach out to them.
You can't extend your value out to them.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin helped WikiLeaks survive in that sense.
Yeah, and this is extremely important, guys, so that you guys understand this about privacy. When we go back over here to these forms of like human messengers or pigeons or snail mail or emails or phone calls or text messages, you're able to send your ideas and your beliefs to over a long distance. However, when it comes to financial privacy, right, it gives you the ability to extend your value and what you value in your world to others, right? So the people that control your ability to send your money, your credit cards and everything, they were able to put a lockdown on everyone's credit cards, and you could not send money to WikiLeaks so that they can keep an eye on the government, right? So because of that, right, WikiLeaks, we don't have the before Bitcoin came along, we did not have the financial privacy to be able to place our value where we want to. Okay, so, and Julian Assange is the founder of the WikiLeaks,
who's
right?
trapped in a London embassy.
Yeah. Now, there are several reasons why someone would want to take away your financial privacy. Let's cover some of that. The first one is why another individual would want to take away your financial privacy, and that's because they want to take away your financial privacy so that they have a competitive edge over you. Okay, you might be applying for a job at a company. You might be applying for a specific role somewhere in a movie or anything like that, or on a dance team or on a sports team, and someone knowing your financial privacy can use it against you. So recently, a few months ago, we had the presidential election here in America, and we had Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, and there was a lot of, what do you call that? Pressure and rumble in the media for Donald Trump to release his personal tax returns, and he chose not to because he wanted to maintain his financial privacy. And he feels that his competitors, Hillary Clinton, should not be able to take his personal finances and use it against him. Okay, so we're not saying that that's right or we're wrong. Remember that, guys. We're just here to say what happened and what's going on with it, and
it's
why.
It's about control. Privacy, like we said at the beginning, is about control, and he should be the one that decides whether or not he releases or not someone else.
Yeah, and at that particular instance, he knew how to exercise his right to release his financial privacy or not. Now, governments want to take away your financial privacy so they can maintain their power and control over its citizens. Back to what you were saying.
Yeah, so this has been well documented in history, just in the 20th century with East Germany and the Soviet Union, where they were doing mass surveillance, or even in America in 2017 with the NSA doing mass surveillance. And we know very clearly that is an infringement on our rights. And so governments want to do that to maintain their own power and control. And that's been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Now, businesses want to take away your financial privacy so they know what you like to buy so they can assist their advertisers to sell you more stuff, right? And with the current technology that we have, it allows mass surveillance that was unimaginable before. Talk a little bit about how these different companies are using technology to survey its customers.
If you use any of these services, which I'm sure most of you use some of these services.
Well, if you're watching this, it's
it's on
right
YouTube right now, right? So Amazon, they know just about anything you want to buy. LinkedIn, they know where you've worked, which recruiters are contacting you. YouTube, they know what you're watching, what you like to watch. Facebook, they know everything about you that you've posted on there, everything your friends have posted about you, and even your friends' friends. So they even have the ability, since people tend to meet new people through their friends, since people meet new friends through friends they already know, they probably know who you're going to run into before you do.
Yeah, who your next friends
are going to be.
They probably knew who my wife was going to be before I even met her.
Yes, that's
because
right.
That's how I met her, was on Facebook.
That's right. And Google knows everything you're searching for. If you use Gmail, they know your email, and then they actually sell that information to advertisers. They actually scan your emails. Not a person scanning, but software scanning your emails to push ads to you based on what you're writing and what other people are writing to you and what you're searching for. So all of these, these services, many of them are free, but they're not really free. I like to have the saying, you pay with your money or you pay with your soul. And you're getting these services for free because you're paying with your soul. And
you're
giving up your privacy. That's what it means. And so therefore it's something that, and your privacy is valuable. I mean, all of these companies make billions of dollars, right? In fact, it's more profitable for them to take your privacy than for any money they could collect from you for any of the services that they're offering. They couldn't, the money they make, there is no way that they could get us to pay them that amount of money for what they're offering.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to collect $30 billion a year off of their email service.
Yes, or their social media, or their Google search, yes.
So they're doing that because they're getting paid by the advertisers to collect that personal data from us.
Sure.
Okay. So just to recap and summarize everything that we've covered in this first module, all right, about what is privacy, right? Our biggest miss in 2016 was in the privacy coin bucket, right? And the privacy is the ability to control the information about yourself and the ability to exercise that control, right? Nothing to hide equals nothing to fear is a myth, right? Because it changes your behavior towards how you act and respond to other people around you, right? Giving up your privacy to have security is a misconception. The argument should be for both security plus privacy, okay? The importance of communication privacy versus financial privacy to extend your ideas and values are extremely important. Your regular communication privacy allows you to convey your ideas and your opinions, right, and your beliefs. But financial privacy allows you to extend the reach of what you value to the other side of the world or people over long distances, right? So just to give you guys a quick teaser on what's coming up in the next video. In the next video, we're going to talk about what are privacy coins and dive deep into it. We're going to talk about what's their differences, what's unique about them and not unique about them. We're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each privacy coin so that when you guys hear it in the news or you hear it in the media or hear it on YouTube or hear us talking about it, you'll understand what sector or what bucket they fall in and what their role is and what they do. And then we'll talk about how to categorize the privacy coins so you'll know what to invest in and what not to invest in, right? So our final disclaimer here, okay? This video series has been sponsored by a privacy coin project to provide an independent third-party review of the major privacy coin projects currently active to educate the public about the importance of financial privacy. And they asked us to do it because they wanted an independent third party. They didn't want to do it themselves because then that would be a conflict of interest, right? So thanks for watching this video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it below this video, right? If you have any friends, family, coworkers, or colleagues that are interested in investing in cryptocurrencies, especially in the privacy coin sector, make sure that you share this video with them. And Leon and I will look forward to seeing you guys in a future video.
See ya.